A Christmas Hero definitely addresses a really important topic, but it does so in a way that's absolutely abysmal. This was released in 2020. It's directed by Phil Wurtzel and it's written by Wurtzel and Patti Wittenberg, and it stars Michael Welch as Nick. And Nick has recently left Afghanistan. He is a war vet and he takes a job at an air museum, which I thought was quite an interesting concept. And then nothing happens for, I want to say, the best part of an hour, maybe about 45 minutes. I'll be kind. It's maybe not quite an hour. But for that duration, nothing happens. And then he's going through a lot of difficult times. He gets some really bad news. And during this bad news, they decide to play some rock version of a Christmas song. Absolutely terrible music choice on multiple occasions. And he's obviously struggling with things, which is understandable. And then his guardian angel visits him. And this character is utterly terrible. Not the performance, nobody's performance was bad, but this is a very badly written character, a really kind of irritating character at times, not a guardian angel character at all, not a very well written character. And then we have a bit of a Christmas Carol as the guardian angel shows Nick various scenarios, and honestly, if they'd maybe introduced this element earlier on and they'd fleshed it out a bit more and worked on it a little bit better, it might have made more sense. But instead they just condensed this all into about 20 minutes and everything felt really rushed and it just didn't work very well at all. And I won't say what happens at the end, of course, I won't give it away, but the film is all about showing Nick these different scenarios, what could happen if he doesn't get help, obviously help with his mental health. And I think if anybody watching this film in a similar situation as Nick decides that actually it's not only okay to ask for help, but it's also encouraged, and they then go and do that, that's fantastic. But honestly, you'd have to get through the film to get to that point, and it's not a pleasant watch. If I wasn't watching it to discuss it, I would have given up. Probably around about the 1 hour mark, I think I would have given up, because it's just a terrible narrative. The pacing is horrendous. The characters are either very boring or kind of irritating. Nick as a protagonist, I didn't mind him. I thought he was quite okay. He's obviously very negative, which is pretty much through the entire film for the most part, and it's understandable, but it doesn't necessarily make for the most pleasant viewing experience. And then the Christmas aspect, there is no Christmas. I think we had a Christmas tree at one point, and as I said, they played a Christmas version of a rock version of a Christmas song over what was a really traumatic experience for Nick. And they could have really tugged on the heartstrings, really got a strong emotional response there. And instead they just played some flippant music over the top. It was a terrible, terrible choice. This could be set any time of year. I don't think they did a really good job, or even a moderately good job, of leaning into the whole things can be even harder at Christmas. Anybody who has mental health problems will know, or most people at least, will agree that for one reason or another, things just seem to be worse at Christmas. And they could have really done a lot more with that, and instead they basically didn't, and then they did a very weak version of A Christmas Carol. They weren't going for a carbon copy of A Christmas Carol, but I don't think they utilised that aspect of the narrative device anywhere near as much as they could have done. So it's not a good film, it's not a good story. The characters are not very well written. Nick is okay. Nick is not a bad protagonist. But as I said, he is understandably very negative. For the most part, there are times, for example, when he's talking to these children who are visiting the museum, he was quite friendly and approachable, and those scenes, those couple of scenes were quite nice. But he's still a very negative character for a lot of the film. So following his journey could have been emotional, but they didn't handle it very well. I think there are some good messages in here, but to receive those messages, you'd have to sit through the film. And it is very tedious, very badly done, not a good film at all. The benefits, well, the performances are okay. I think the cast did the best they could with the writing of the characters, and the Air Museum was a really nice space. I really liked that as a location. Apparently it's filmed at Kalamazoo Air Zoo in Michigan, and it looks like a nice environment. I rather liked it. I'd like to visit there someday. It looks pretty good. Aside from that, it's not a good story. It's not a Christmas film. The characters are mostly bland. and the whole angel aspect, guardian angel aspect, was so poorly handled that unfortunately the important messages that this film can deliver are just going to be lost because everything else is just pretty insufferable. A nice idea, horrifically executed, a Christmas hero, is not a good film.